On GLP, maybe about a week ago, I had seen this post that said schizophrenia, an alternative explanation. It said this: what if we call schizophrenia, what we call schizophrenia may not be a disease in the conventional sense, but rather an unfiltered consciousness, a raw, unshielded connection to multiple layers of reality. In this view, the individual is not broken but overexposed. Their mind has lost the veil that separates this timeline from others. They received voices, visions, emotions not rooted in their current space-time experience but bleeding from alternative selves and shadow lives and parallel trajectories. What is perceived as delusion may instead be misaligned perception, unable to anchor itself to a single coherent vision of reality. If anything is being damaged, it may not be the brain tissue directly, but the ego structure, the delicate framework that allows a self to stay stable in one reality. Without the filters that most people unconsciously rely on, the psyche becomes overwhelmed, misidentifying stimuli and breaking down under the weight of too many truths at once. In this light, healing may not lie just in medication, but in integration, grounding, and guided reconnection to the present timeline. And they go on to say that perhaps all of the greatest seers and prophets, like the oracles of Delphi. I know that there was other atmospheric things going on at Delphi, but other oracles throughout time, that perhaps they were schizophrenic, and that not to say that all the things that were coming through was just random, scattered, nonsensical stuff, that it was real. So I don't know how to bring all this stuff together. I guess maybe because we're talking about syncing hemispheres of the brain, and maybe there's a little bit unregulated brain activity over here with schizophrenia, and then we have I don't know, the mind unleashed, and where are some of those voices coming from? Is it where, from who? All around us. There could be several sources. You never know. I don't know. You got run away with that one for a little bit.
Well, Frank, you just stepped in some shit right here.
Oh man, look at this. Dog shit. Did you just step in that on purpose?
Yeah. For the first 6 months.
Stepped in it, dude.
Stepped in it, dog. The first 6 months of this show was basically on this subject. I'll ask Frank a question, and I'm gonna let David talk for an hour about this. But how many of your thoughts do you think are your own, Frank?
Oh yeah, if you had to put a percentage on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if I have to put a percentage on it, I will say maybe somewhere around 53%. I look at our brains, I look at us, and I had this for a long time. Perhaps maybe when I was a lot younger, I'd say, well, I don't know. Maybe, I get influence from people around me, but I think I'm mostly my own man. But I tend to think of ourselves as individual broadcast units now. We send and receive. And that obviously doesn't, it only increases when we sleep. So I'll put myself somewhere around 53 to 57, perhaps. I don't know.
Very specific.
Yeah, that is a very specific number. We Top was right. We spent probably the first 6 months of the show going on about this, and it's not really stopped. It's only tapered off slightly, the discussion around schizophrenia.
Well, it's turned into something different, right?
It's turned into something massively different. I actually have people very close to me in my family that are schizophrenic, or a person, people. And I thought for a period it was going to happen to me. I heard a voice when I was a kid, and I never let go of that. I was like 4 years old or something, and I remember very clearly hearing a woman's voice when I was a child, and then finding out that my aunt was schizophrenic. Big worries. I thought it was going to happen to me, but I think the onset for that is like 27 to early 30s for males, and if it doesn't happen, you're kind of in the clear after that.
Thank God.
So 53 to 57% is a very specific number, but we have a relationship with a Dr. Jerry Marzinski, who would claim he thinks it's around 80% of your thoughts are not your own.
Oh, whoa.
And,
are not our own.
Are not your own.
Oh,
and
yes.
so Dr. Jerry Marzinski is a clinical psychologist in the field of study for 35 years, or actually in the field working, an occupied therapist dealing specifically with schizophrenic patients. Now, first, he deals with them in a prison setting, and later on in life, he deals with them. First he deals with them in a medical setting, and then later on in a prison setting after, I guess, he either his I think his job went away. How did that go?
No,
wait, hold on. Is this guy did he do like a 2-hour long video on psychopathy? on psychopaths?
I'm not sure if he did.
This
We've
is
had
his-
him on the show several times. I know
Okay.
he's spoken to Owen Benjamin. He's made the rounds over the past year, but originally
he left his job at the if I'm remembering correctly. You can go back and watch the episodes or whenever he talks about it, but he was running into some problems because he wasn't buying the conventional Western medicine solution for specifically schizophrenia, which he was dealing with a lot in this hospital medical setting. And he decided to, just not change occupation, but change where he was working because the jail gave him a little bit more leniency to kind of like deal with this in a different way. Whereas like the medical setting of like, medical professionals you're dealing with, outpatients, they're like, yo, treat it this way. We don't want any problems.
don't want to get sued.
Don't want to get sued. Give them the prescriptions we tell you to do. Treat schizophrenia as if it's hallucinations, which is what is diagnosed in the book. But he started to do some studies and found out, he's like, well, if it's a hallucination, it shouldn't adhere to these specific patterns. And I believe there's like 21 of them. But David, go ahead, rattle those off.
So it's like, within randomness, there is some pattern that emerges. So there's room for pattern within random auditory and visual hallucinations. But he found 23 discernible patterns that this thing adhered to. And that just doesn't, vibe with a set of hallucinations. And so he eventually starts to treat these things as if they are something that exists outside of the body, that it's not something that is indicative of a chemical brain imbalance or a brain chemical imbalance or some sort of fissure or fraction in the psyche, that this is something that is coming from outside these individuals. And over time, he actually convinces, I guess after he's got it on good authority, these people to treat it in the prison, treat it like it's something external to themselves. And they actually end up having a great deal of success. But over time, strange things start to happen. Like I remember he talked about a patient coming up to him and telling him that the voices say, you have no right to interfere with their way of life. That's what one of the patients came up to him and said to Dr. Jerry Marzinski. And this is after he's telling them to treat it as if it's something external to themselves.
Wow.
And over time, he also found that these things react really negatively to scripture. And you could say that is the psychological scaffolding of, the average Western American. But it gets to the point where, Dr. Jerry Marzinski ends up actually encountering one of the voices. And the way it manifests to him is absolutely wild. So how does this story go? Is this top after he's
seeing an inmate, and the guy is coming to his office over the course of a couple of months, and I guess he thinks he's built enough of a relationship with him where he says there's a Spanish guy that is also a psychiatrist, and he has some works about maybe these voices are external from you. And he has a paragraph written from this guy, and he slides it over to the patient, to the inmate, and he goes, just read this really quickly and tell me what you think about it. So the guy starts to read it, and as he finishes it, he says the guy kind of like blanks out and stand like a zombie, just kind of like staring at the paper. And he's like, is everything okay? Like, are we good here? And the guy doesn't say anything. He hears a crackling across the wall. He says it goes from like the left side of the wall all the way around him, and he's like looking now to see what this is. Like he described it as an electromagnetic static. It goes behind his head and it jumps into the garbage bin right by his desk. He looks in the garbage bin, there's nothing there. He looks back at the guy, he says, what the hell was that? The guy snaps out of it, stands up, and leaves his office. So he's like, I'm freaked out a little bit, and he closes his practice for the day. A couple weeks later, the guy comes back to the office to see him, and he said the guy is looking better. He seems to have taken his advice to treat this thing externally. And actually, I'll be a little bit honest here on this show. It's not just for schizophrenia patients, but like most men struggle with, like, I don't know, looking at porn. Let's say that's one of the things, right? You'll be scrolling Twitter, and then all of a sudden butt cheeks, and you're like, I should, right? And I started to treat this proclivity as if it's external to me, and it's like a lot easier to deal with. It's like that thought is not your own. This is like something tapping. You can almost feel it, like a pull. Like, I'm sure people that struggle with other types of addiction feel the same way, whether it be alcohol, gambling, whatever. You feel this, like, just a little bit. Come on.
Yeah.
And it's hard to decipher. It's like, is that me, or is that something
And
else.
It's an agency thing, because if, let's say, the medical industry has this all based off of chemical imbalances and things of that nature, that, a lot of it, especially when it comes to like the attention deficit disorder thing, there's no science to back that there's a chemical imbalance in the brain. You can't prove it. You can't lobotomize a human being. They've never established a baseline. But if you are telling somebody that this is all auditory and visual hallucinations, you're essentially telling them their brain is broken, which is like you're lost in the ocean. You have no way to, it's kind of throwing in the towel, like, oh, I'm broken, I guess, and there's nothing I could do about that.
No recourse.
But he found, even if you wanted to dismiss this as like placebo effect, let's say, certainly then the results he found is that giving an individual agency over their own recovery is far more successful than telling them that they're just broken, a lost cause, and they have to take these pills in perpetuity that make them feel like a zombie. Like we have not addressed the schizophrenic issue, the mental health issue, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a spiritual disposition. We've not addressed it to virtually any success here in the West.
We've expedited it with pills that resemble methamphetamine, which is a huge driver of, according to Marzinski, a huge driver of schizophrenia. It's the drug that he said. I believe he said it like kicks the door open and it's like putting a doorstop in it.
He said that out of all the drugs that he's seen people addicted to, the one that emulates the symptoms of schizophrenia the most is methamphetamine. And after a certain amount of usage, he found that those patients would be basically plagued even in sobriety. Even in sobriety, this would perpetuate, and they would be diagnosed bipolar schizophrenia or schizophrenia.
Let me finish the story. So the guy comes back. He says he seems to be doing better. He can see the levity on his face, and he says that he's taking his advice. And then Jerry's like, what the hell happened the last time we were here? You blanked out, looked at me like a zombie, freaked me out. And the guy's like, oh, it was nothing. And then he goes, did you hear the static noise? He said there was a static in the room. Did you hear that? And the guy he's like, you heard that noise? And he's like, yeah. He's like, what was that? And the inmate says, those were the voices. Like, so Jerry is perceiving it as a electrostatic crackling, and this guy is hearing it. You might even call that a
frequency, right?
Yeah, like some sort of frequency, but that's how he's hearing it. And the inmate is hearing it as the voice of the schizophrenic voice. But it's almost like a poltergeist that's tangible in the room. So Jerry's like, I'll play along. This guy's like, playing with me. He says, what did it say? And he said, the voice told me to go and find a shiv and stick it in your guts. And Jerry, I love him. He looks at the guy and he goes, why didn't you? And the guy says, no one would give me one and I couldn't find one. That was it. And he was like, I closed my office the rest of the day. And I mean, he's got transcript after transcript of this. He actually brought a guy on our show that is I guess you would say he's recovering still, but he did recover from this.
He was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic in his early 20s, and now we got to speak to him as an older man, probably in his 50s, who's lived a successful life as a mechanical engineer since then. This is supposed to be something that you don't recover from. This is supposed to be something that is just maintained with these pills for the rest of your life. But this guy was treating it as something external to himself and overcame it, and then went on to have a successful career.
Well, I just always pray that there's more time put into this and more options opened up to people. That's a crazy story. That really is.